Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 77. We are in football season. Uh, can't wait for this year to start. So we're gonna get our week one picks in. This will be a good podcast. Got Big Buck Steve on the mic, of course, Big Smooth and Fresh Wes. So for those of you who aren't familiar, maybe it's your first time watching, or maybe you watched before. Every year we do our week by week NFL picks for you. So if you're listening now, we'll try to have these posted every Wednesday. So whether maybe you're a bettor, maybe it's your office league, maybe it's your fantasy football, you just want to see how your team's doing, we got the picks for you coming. Before we get into NFL, though, obviously college football starting same time, equally as exciting. Love college football just as much as I do NFL. Didn't get to catch as many games this weekend as I wanted to. Had some other things going on, but from what I did see, I mean, things kind of went as advertised. I don't know if you guys saw anything in the games, that kind of stuck out to you. Obviously, the big game, LSU, Florida State, that was the game of the week, kind of. What do you guys think about that?
Coleman's definitely going to be one of the top receivers taken. That's for sure.
Yeah, looks good. Yeah, LSU, it didn't look good.
No. They're playing on the road too in Florida State. So, I mean, it kind of means a little bit different. College is always more like home field advantage does mean something. But not like it was close. I mean, what wasn't LSU winning at halftime, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they played terrible. They just didn't come out in the second half and do
The
well.
second half, they were completely flat and couldn't tackle, couldn't cover. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Wes, what did you think about Florida State? You think they looked like a top 10 team, or LSU didn't?
I just caught the fourth quarter. I was at a party. They didn't have the game on, so I'm not too shocked. I think a little shocked that they beat Florida State by as much as they did. But again, it's early in the season. This first game. Things happen. They're playing basically at home. So yeah, Coleman looks ridiculous. Travis, I mean, their offense looks really good. It looks like they could beat almost anybody at this point. But again, it's first game of the season. I think if you're going to lose, especially if you're LSU, lose week one. So
Right.
if they can, I think they'll recover. They'll have a good chance against Alabama. So it's a long way to go.
Yeah, how's the SEC this year, comparatively? You think you guys think they're just as strong this year as they've been in the past, or are they on a little bit of a downturn as far as what we would normally expect from the SEC?
Well, they're top heavy. I mean, it's Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and then LSU, and then it kind of falls off.
Yeah, and Florida State fluctuates. This is one of those years where they could do big things. They could win it all if things fall into place for them. So when you play Florida State, you're SEC. They're kind of like an SEC team when they're when they have that much talent. They've always had a lot of speed, but I think again, you're breaking in new quarterbacks in the SEC, which is kind of weird. I mean, you got Georgia breaking in new quarterback, Alabama's breaking in, trying to figure out their guy. So probably going to take a couple weeks for things to kind of like fall into place, get a better idea.
I guess that's my fear with some of these top-heavy SEC teams or the big players in the SEC. The little bit of I don't know, inconsistency or, just not knowledge of what their quarterbacks are going to look like at this point. It's kind of a first, it feels like. Usually, you have their quarterbacks on radar already. And they're not bad. Obviously, we've seen a little bit of them in the past, but
well, yeah, the Texas
scary.
game, we'll figure out how good Alabama's quarterback is in the Texas game. That's coming up. But
what about
he did look pretty good though? I know it was not the same competition, but he looked pretty good.
Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah, against high schoolers.
And Notre Dame looked good because they played Tennessee. I didn't even know there was a Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's Tennessee State. How about that?
Well, yeah, Oregon looked awesome against Portland State, right?
Yeah, Bo Nix, just give Bo Nix the Heisman right now.
I always put up stuff in New York already for it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Of course he has. Of course Nike has.
But I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't already on the talk list. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
But
he was already there.
I think it's interesting the Pac-12 just watching all the games. Of course, they won every game, and I think we were all talking about like, all right, who looked the best out of the Pac-12 teams overall?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I mean, I just wanted to talk about. I was going to ask about USC.
yeah,
Caleb Williams. Like, how do you think he's going to do? This year. How did USC look? What did you guys think about the Pac-12?
Well, I'm waiting for once a lot of the Pac-12 teams play real teams or like I think competitive teams, then we'll know more. Even Colorado's win, it's a great win, but I don't think it's not TCU from last year.
No, it's not. But TCU's
There's
still
no
a
Max
good
Dugan.
team.
There's no
Yeah.
Quentin Johnston. I mean, it was a good win for a team that wasn't good last year.
Right.
But let's just Aaron Rodgers says RELAX, relax. One game.
Yeah.
Let's I don't need my whole social media hall, my X, Twitter, whatever, talking about how great Colorado is in one game.
Yeah.
And when they play Oregon, they beat Oregon, then I'm like, oh, okay, they're for real. But right now they're talking like this is the greatest team in the entire world ever, and Deion Sanders is the greatest coach. He has one win.
Yeah, it was a good game plan. They executed well. His son is a good quarterback. They got some skill guys. Hunter's unreal.
Yeah,
like,
Hunter is
playing
pretty amazing.
that many snaps and playing the way he did. I mean, it's but this noise about I heard someone say, yeah, they're gonna make movies about this team. I'm like, let's just it's week one. Come on.
Right. And of course, you got to have hype. That's what that creates energy, it creates excitement, and the reality though is let's say they do come back, maybe they get a 10-win season, they win a bowl game. There's a lot to be said for that quick of a turnaround for a team.
Yeah, they're 1-11.
Right.
I mean, that's go from 1-11 to 10 wins.
That's amazing.
It will
right?
be amazing. So, I just want to wait because right now it's like Deion Sanders is up there. I told you, haters. It's like, okay, you have one win. You're about the same as last year. We still, how can you say I told you so after one game?
Yeah, yeah, and then you're going to go through the gauntlet of the Pac. We'll see how you deal against Utah. Utah actually has a defense. Like Utah's defense is legit. Out of the Pac-12 teams, I was kind of most impressed with Washington because of Penix.
Right.
Penix is just off the charts. I mean, the way he throws the football, their defense played well enough to say, you know what, there's a defense that's pretty decent in the Pac-12, kind of like Oregon State. But Oregon State played San Jose State. You can't really tell this early in the season.
I was impressed with Washington as well. One thing I liked about Washington, Boise State obviously isn't what they used to be, but that's a good football school. Like they have a good program, and to dominate them like they were some kind of mid-level school, was or like a Division II school, basically. Right?
You hold Boise State to 17 and you put 56 up on them.
Yeah,
that is
it was
a pretty
brutal.
good win, but you just don't know. I know Boise State's fallen off, some. They're just, but still, they're not. I mean, they kind of beat them up.
Yeah.
See, even though you kind of poo-pooed it, I was impressed with Oregon State because they at least, like USC, let San Jose State score a bunch, right?
Yeah.
They physically dominated San Jose State, and Martinez looks like one of the best backs in the nation.
Yeah,
Martinez looks good. He looks, you're just their defense. Yeah, their defense looked good. I mean, I just it's gonna be interesting to see. Yeah, it's like does Oregon State match up their skill players against these other schools? Can defense kind of win the day? Utah's won the last two Pac-12 championships with mainly defense.
Yeah.
So you never know. Defense could rule the day, or you can have teams like USC who just puts up 60 like it's nothing.
I feel that's Colorado USC is going to be like 63-60.
It may be.
It's gonna be. They're gonna score higher than the basketball team. It's like
so Oregon State for me, they're also not to the level of Colorado, but they're to the level for me right now of like complete your kind of comeback or your resurgence before I really trust you. Like I still need to see a good season this season as well. Yeah, they played well last year, so I'll give them that, right? But I want to see them finish it with another good solid season to say, hey, yeah, we are here. We're ready to compete. At that high level consistently.
Well, and DJU looks pretty good too. And it's funny, he is like stout.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Dude's got like lineman legs.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He when he gets going downhill, I saw him before as Clemson, right? He was he was hard to tackle. You saw him run through some tackles. So he is a big dude.
It's kind of like the Cam Rising effect. That's Utah's success. It's Cam Rising running the ball. He had 500 yards last year. Oregon State. It could be the same formula. Hey, it's what wins in the Pac-12. Yeah. Maybe you just got to punch people in the mouth instead of go over the top all the time.
I mean, that's been a good formula for Oregon for a while, just to score a lot of points. So you're right; it goes both ways. Right, it does go both ways. So I think I'm a little more excited after watching these teams for the Pac-12 this first week. Again, we're still in week one, but I had a question marks for some of the other teams, and which watching them play, some of those were answered, I think. So that'll be fun to watch.
The only conference ever to start off 13-0.
Right.
Ever. And it's bye-bye Pac-12 after this.
Yeah. You're like,
that's funny.
This conference sucks. Let's get rid of it. Big Ten, speaking of where all the teams are going, kind of most of the games I think went, like we thought they were going to go. Michigan, what do you guys think? I mean, so I see a lot of Michigan being put in the final four, of the going to the playoff again. You guys see Michigan that way?
Yeah, I think we talked, didn't we, already in one of the other podcasts, we said Michigan would probably be top four, top five teams, right? I mean, it's them or Ohio State, probably.
Yeah.
Ohio State is going to have to fix the quarterback play wasn't that great the first half. I don't know if they're going to stick with him. You're going to see, even though it's Notre Dame and Notre Dame annoys me, I think they can have a problem with Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame can actually win that game. And that might throw everything in a flux when it comes to looking at, okay, is this our guy going forward against Penn State and Michigan? I think Penn State's got their quarterback. Their skill guy, that touchdown pass he threw in the first quarter, that's his second pass ever. He's a sophomore, and that was a great throw. That was 40 yards on a rope. Their defense looks legit. Still questions, I think, a little bit about their skill guys. Their skill guys are definitely not good as Ohio State's. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. and all the other guys. I think they have different questions. Ohio State questions at quarterback. Penn State has questions maybe at the skill positions. But Michigan's got everything to me. They got one of the best running backs in the nation. McCarthy, I think, is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I think he's going to have a good year. I think Michigan is the favorite in the Big Ten. I just think, can they really beat Ohio State 3 years in a row? That's Can you imagine if they did? Is Day's job in jeopardy if they do that? I've heard some noise about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on their overall season. I don't know that just losing to Michigan loses your job, but it could. It definitely could. When you look at the way that rivalry is viewed.
Yeah.
But I could see maybe if maybe they come out lose 3 or 4 games in the season. That could be.
Oh yeah. If they lose to Notre Dame, I mean, honestly, you should be kind of like, you know what? You lost to Notre Dame. Come on. Like you're Ohio State. We've been building this program for 20 years not to lose to Notre Dame. We should crush Notre Dame. You know?
Yeah, I think quarterback play is definitely a little bit of a question mark there. But I think you're right. Michigan. I heard an interesting talk about Blake Corum. So this guy was talking about Corum, saying how he could have went to the NFL, or should have, historically should have went to the NFL based on just to get your get paid now, right? You get over there. But he said something that was also interesting that I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of this before, but now I kind of am. When he talks about this way, them getting paid in
Mhm.
college, through these different pay things. And that incentivized Blake Corum to say, you know what, I don't need to go to the NFL because I'm making good money still while I'm here in college. So what do you guys think of that kind of keeping people around and maybe lengthening these kids' college careers?
Well, that would be the only thing for running backs, because if I'm a running back and I'm like, okay, my rookie deal in the NFL is going to be better than the rest of my career in the NFL, I got to get in
Yeah.
when I can, and go as early as possible so I don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, was it Marcus Lattimore? Biggest example I could ever bring up. Well, number one back in the nation, his sophomore year, gets ACL, ACL, ACL. Done.
Yeah.
Never plays in the NFL.
Yeah. Injury is your biggest risk when you're talking football, right? For any player, I guess except maybe quarterbacks. I guess they're less likely. A running back, you got a lot of mileage, right? You're getting hit all the time. You're getting hit low a lot, things like that. So it's tough for running backs.
Especially Michigan's offense. We're not talking like, run and gun. They're running the ball a bunch.
Yeah, no, he's going to run the ball 25, 30 times a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I do like. Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt. Hopefully he goes on to a great NFL career. But I do like the fact that he stayed, and kind of one of those big reasons was he's still making money. So it wasn't a pure financial reason. Like he wants to win a championship, and that's to me what gets schools there. Like that's how you win championships is you have players, like that who want to win it. So Michigan definitely I think has a chance there. So good season coming up, I think, for college football as well. Should be interesting to watch. Great first week. Well, not first, but first big week, right? Let's get into NFL picks. All right, man. Wasn't it just fun? Maybe I get overly excited about this. Wasn't it fun to just go through the games and look at the try to figure out who's going to win and who's playing and the scores and all that stuff? It's just good to be back.
Week one is so hard though, because you just don't know what you got.
Right.
You could end up with the Rams last year, who totally just shot the bed, right? And it's like, oh, they were in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, and then just looked horrible the rest of the next season.
Well, yeah, and you just have those games that it's also, the rust week, right? Like you're
Yeah.
kind of dusting off the rust, so you don't know how they're going to look. I remember Wes last year with the Colts and Texans game. It was just like that. It was like one of the worst games to watch, and like
Messing Wes's parlay up.
messed this parlay up. That was just so funny. But that's kind of that's my example of week one. Like that's how a game can go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go down the list. Start here with the Thursday night game. So we got Kansas City and Detroit. This was a tough pick, so I'm interested to hear what you guys got. So, Derek, what do you got?
Well, I think I already know what Wes is going to say, and I pretty much agree with him. I'm taking the Lions here to upset the Chiefs. Week 1. Not saying the Lions are better than the Chiefs. I just think in week 1 they're going to come out like gangbusters because this is their show to show that they are for real. So yeah, I got the Lions. It's a 6.5 point spread. I think the Lions cover that.
Yeah. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, KC still hasn't signed Jones. I think that's going to be a factor. I think they're going to really, after this game, they're like, oh, we really need him. We got to sign him and get him locked in because I think Detroit's offense, even though they're missing,
Jameson, yeah.
it's I think Gibbs is going to cause them a lot of problems, like throwing him the ball, opening up the outside. I mean, that's what they should do. They do that. I think they win. I don't think they're going to win by a lot. It's going to be close, but they're going to miss Jones. Kansas is going to miss Jones in this game, so I'm taking Detroit.
Yeah, this is real a tough one. But sounds like we're gonna have first season, first game pick swing game. So our first swing game of the year.
Come on,
Because
Steve.
I mean, I want Detroit to win because I just hate Kansas City. The problem I have is that it's in Kansas City for week 1, right? And Kansas City, their fans bring it, and it's hard to not go play well week 1 in front of your home team. I don't think their defense, obviously missing Jones, is going to do a lot to stop Detroit, but I'm also not sold on Detroit's defense being able to stop Kansas City. And to me, coaching matters, right? And I think Reed's still a much better coach in this situation. And so I had to go with Kansas City. If it was in Detroit, I think I would have picked Detroit. And I also don't know that Kansas City will cover either. So I think it'll be a close game. So, betting wise, you still might be taking
Oh,
Detroit
yeah.
here. However, as far as taking the win, I think Kansas City gets the win. All right.
So dumb.
Carolina at Atlanta. Wes, to lead us off.
I'm taking Atlanta. Um, Not by a lot. I think it's gonna be a closer game than people think. I think Bryce Young's gonna have a decent game. I think, you're gonna probably have 27-24 Atlanta winning. I think Bijan Robinson is gonna have, he's gonna probably have 150 yards total offense. I think you're gonna see them use their weapons nicely. I'm not really that sold on Ritter that much, but when you're throwing to those weapons, you're probably gonna be able to handle Carolina's defense. Even though Carolina's defense played a little better last year. Yeah, I'm just taking Atlanta.
Yeah, I think this would be a close game as well. But I agree. At home, I think Atlanta's at this point is definitely the stronger team of the two. I think this is a good kickoff game for Atlanta. I think this is probably one of the best situations it could be at home against Carolina. A good chance for Bijan to get off on the right foot. So I'm definitely saying Atlanta here.
Yep. When in doubt, if their teams look equal, you take the home team. That's what I'm doing
Yeah.
with the Falcons. Just Bryce Young's first game is always going to have some jitters, probably. So I just the safe bet. But yeah, this point spread is 3.5. I don't know if I would take that though. I might take the Panthers in that, but for the win, I would take the Falcons.
Yeah, it could come down to a last second field goal. If that's the case, yeah, of course. Because I think that could be
Who knows? Wes can bet on it, and it'll be a tie.
Somehow they'll score 3.5.
Oh, I'm doing a parlay. I already got my parlay. It's going down.
All right, Cincinnati at Cleveland. I think, I don't think it's an easy game for Cincinnati at all, especially at Cleveland. You just don't know what you're going to get out of Cleveland from week to week, so it does not make them a fun team to play. Sometimes it does, I'm sure, when you're getting the bad Cleveland, but when they're playing well, they have tons of weapons on offense and defense. So I think it's a tough game for Cincinnati, but I think it's a must win for Cincinnati to start the season. So I think they come out strong and win this game, probably by a touchdown.
I think they learned from last year, the Bengals, because last year they laid an egg. I mean, Burrow had 5 picks, and it was just
Yeah.
bad. And they still almost won the game.
Yeah, they should have won that game.
Yeah. But they're a 2.5-point favorite on the road, but I mean, it's Cleveland, Cincinnati. It's not like it's 6 hours away. So I'm taking the Bengals here. And I think they'd cover too.
You got Wes?
I got the Bengals. I do think the Bengals will probably struggle some because Joe's been out for some time. I think there'll be some rust, but I think they'll be able to handle Cleveland. I think Chubb will have his usual good game, and I got a question about Deshaun Watson. So yeah, I still think they should handle them, beat them by probably 5 or 6.
This is definitely a telltale year for Watson. I mean, he didn't look great last year, but you got to remember he had so much time off into a new system, into all that. I think here's now where you find out this year, not this game, but this year, if Deshaun Watson is really back, to the level he was before. So I don't blame him for last year, but I will blame him this year if he sucks. Let's see, Jacksonville at Indy. Derek, what do you got?
Looking for my. Well, Jacks are only favored by 5, road favorite, but the Colts are just a mess. I mean, I love Anthony Richardson, but he's doomed. Yeah, this is not going to be good for him. He has no weapons, really. He has no running game. Deion Jackson's going to be starting for him. This is going to be a bad game. So I got the Jags winning this.
You agree, Wes?
Yeah, it's just watching Richardson's last game. I mean, he's got a lot of growing to do. I do think they might put up 17 points. I think the Jags put up 33. It's just yeah, they're gonna miss Jonathan. They're gonna miss Jonathan a lot. So yeah, I'm taking the Jags.
Yeah, it's hard to take Indy at all, but in this game, I think Jacksonville has grown over the last year, gotten better, and obviously being the division winner last year, they're the favorite here. I think they do cover as well, so I think they probably win by 10. I got to take Jacksonville. Tampa at Minnesota. What do you got, Wes?
Well, definitely not Tampa. So I guess I'll take Minnesota. I mean, you want to talk about 2 quarterbacks that, are not going to win the top prize for confidence of most confident quarterbacks in the NFL. But I mean, the Evans is still holding out, right? For Tampa. I mean, they got Justin Jefferson. There's going to be a lot of Justin Jefferson in the game. I think Minnesota's going to run the ball at will. I take the Vikings by 17.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't know about 17, but Minnesota can put up points when they get on a roll. So it definitely could go that way. I just think Tampa. I don't know who Tampa can beat this year, and that Minnesota's definitely not that team. So Tampa, I may give Tampa a shot down the road, but not in this game. So I got Minnesota, probably at least by 10 as well.
Yeah, I'm not too high on the Vikings, but they are playing the Buccaneers, so I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings here. The spread is 6. They'll probably cover that easily.
Right. Let's see. Tennessee at New Orleans. So I'll lead this one off. We talked about earlier this season or earlier podcast. We think, New Orleans is on a track back. Normally, I would say this is a coin flip, but Tennessee, I just don't know yet. They got to prove a little bit to me that they're going to be competitive this year. It's hard when you look at Tennessee as a team, though, because good coaching, good defense, great running back, good receiving crew now, and what's their big question? Quarterback, right? So
Yeah.
I still gotta go New Orleans here. I think at home, New Orleans is a tough team to beat. So that's kind of what's pushing me over the edge on this one is New Orleans.
Yeah.
So probably by a touchdown.
Yeah, surprisingly, the Saints are only favored by 3, which is kind of crazy because then it's like a pick 'em game for a home team. I just think the Saints, they have a top 5 defense. The receiving core, they're going Michael Thomas back. They got, Olave. We'll see what the running game, because Kamara's out, but they got Jamal Williams now.
Yeah.
So we'll just see. This is going to show if like Carr is a good quarterback or not. Come in and like, oh gosh, what happened here? He's now has a good defense. So let's see what you can do. But yeah, I got the Saints winning this and covering.
Yeah. It's what happens when Derrick Henry gets on a roll, right? I think that's the key for the Saints. Like if they could stop Derrick Henry, then it's an easy game. Wes, what do you got?
I got the Saints. I think it's going to be close. I think Henry is going to just go beast mode in this game. I think he's going to have a good 150 yards in this game. The problem is when you have 3 average quarterbacks on your roster, which one do you play? And so obviously Daniel's starting, but I think that's their weak spot is I think Tennessee's got a good infrastructure. They're coached up very well. Vrabel's got, I mean, Vrabel's teams are always going to be out there giving effort, but it's just the quarterback position is a big question mark. So I'm taking New Orleans in a close game, three field goal.
So maybe Tennessee's the bet then, huh?
You never know.
They're getting 3.5.
Yeah, don't hold us too much to these picks because it is week 1. So
I think we're pretty on par right now. We'll see how the week goes, but let's see, Derek. Why don't you go San Francisco, Pittsburgh?
Speaking of not being on par, I'm taking the Steelers in this one.
Oh man,
The 49ers are favored by 2.5, but Purdy hasn't played very much coming back. Bosa's holding out. It's in Pittsburgh. You saw what happened last year. Pittsburgh's not as good a team as the Bengals, but crazy things happens in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh defense is really good. J.J. Watt, Highsmith. And then, just another week of Wes and Steve getting irritated because they're going to be talking about Pickett. But I got the Steelers winning by a field goal.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What do you think, Wes?
I got to agree with Derek. It's just because I think TJ Watt's going to come in and just wreck 49ers offense. I think he's just going to come in and he's going to just energize that defense. Their defense is legit. That's one thing. Kenny Pickett, yes, he's going to do enough to win the game, and everyone's going to be, oh, Kenny Pickett, can he take him to the Super Bowl? And all this stuff. It's like, come on. No, their defense can take him to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kenny Pickett can jump on and ride that defense, that team because of their defense. I think TJ Watt's gonna have a big game. Yeah, I think they win by 4.
Yeah, this is probably, I don't know, maybe the second hardest game to pick this week for me anyway. Because I wanted to go Pittsburgh, but I didn't. So another swing game. Uh, I get it, San Francisco's not at full capacity, the problem is even at not full capacity, San Francisco's a really good team. And Pittsburgh has so much to prove that if they win this game, good. I'll give them some more credit. And maybe they do. I don't think it's impossible. Like you said, at Pittsburgh, it's kind of like to me when you go to KC, right? Or you go to Green Bay, or you go to these other real hard stadiums to play at. Pittsburgh's one of those. And so it is a tough game. Like San Francisco really has to come to play to win this game. I just think that they're a little better than Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna go with Kansas or San Francisco on this one. It's pretty close spread too, right? So it's only a couple points.
2.5.
2.5, yeah. Yeah. So I still think San Francisco covers that. I think I'll give them it 3. All right, Wes. Arizona at Washington, game of the week.
Fuck. Really? Do we even have to? Oh, I'm taking Washington, of course, just because Arizona's done. They've already mailed it in. It's like, do we really have to put guys out there? Can't they just play against air? Washington would probably do better against air. I mean, against Arizona than playing against air at this point. So yeah, I'm taking Washington. Sam Howell is started. All this noise. Another thing is Sam Howell. Oh, he looks really good. Yeah, in preseason he does. It's like they're going to be very average, like they always are, and not make the playoffs. And they're petitioning the name to go back to the Redskins too, which I think is hilarious.
I know, it's funny. Yeah, and it's not even the team that really started that petition.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fans. They're like, this is dumb.
Yeah, what a sad game this one is.
Hopefully you got YouTube or whatever, and you're not stuck in those markets.
Yeah, you're not just watching Arizona, Washington. I think they should put Howe and Murray should just play a game of Madden, with their teams, and whoever wins, then they don't have to play the game. I think
That'd be Call of Duty.
I mean, he's probably much better at Call of Duty, but I'm sure he plays Madden. No, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's still going to be a competitive game, I think, because they're both equal in my eyes. They're similar teams. I think Washington's defense is better, and so obviously at home with a better defense, you got to take Washington.
Commanders are favored by 7.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to pick the Cardinals at all this year because they're straight garbage. I think their head coach is an idiot too. I'm not going to name who the starting quarterback is. Who cares? It's Clayton Tune or Josh Dobbs. Okay. Don't be thinking you're so cool and a genius.
Right.
Yeah, I got the Commanders by 10. I just don't understand. This guy is like, oh, I'm not going to name a starter. Like, who cares?
Yeah. It's just, let's just go on to the next game.
Well, next game should be interesting. Although I'll lead us off here. Houston at Baltimore. I think the interesting part of the game, not that who's going to win more, it's just like how well does Houston play, and I think Baltimore at home, that's a tough ask of any team. So, and now you're going to bring in, young Houston, new quarterback, new coach, new everything. But I'm interested to see how Houston performs because I've been waiting for this. I'm a big D'Amico Ryans fan, and I love to see what he's going to do this year. Unfortunately, I'm not a huge CJ Stroud fan, so I wish they would have went a different way, but that's the way they went. So I'm going to take Baltimore. I definitely I think they'll cover as well.
Yeah, this is the highest spread game of the week. Baltimore by 10. But yeah, I just think, there's no chance for the Texans. I think the first game of the season, Stroud's going to struggle. Ravens are way too experienced, and they're going to roll them. So yeah, I got the Ravens winning by 14.
Yeah. What do you got, Wes?
I got the Ravens. I think you're gonna see a lot of the human joystick that is Trey Flowers. I think he's gonna have a big game. He's got a big year because it's like when they load up when they load up on the outside, it's gonna be Trey Flowers running around the middle of the field catching balls and just destroying defenses. And even though Houston defense isn't bad, I just think first game they're gonna come out and just be explosive. See them winning by 20.
Yeah, I mean it's just tough. I mean Baltimore at home, like I said, is a tough team for anybody. So we'll see how Houston does. Could be the shocker of the week though, right? Because we just don't know what Houston is yet, and you never know, right? They like if they come out win this game, I think that would be the biggest where people be like, "What just happened?" So put them on your parlay, Wes, and then it'll happen.
No, they'll just tie. Then
I'll just yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, Derek. I think you're up. Green Bay at Chicago.
this is kind of a weird game for me because looking at the spread, it's only 1 point for Chicago at home. So you're going to be like giving me only 1 point, and it's Jordan Love's first game, who we don't even know about. And the fact is that the Packers defense has underperformed for the last few years, even with all the draft picks they put in there. This is going to be the game that people realize, oh, Aaron Rodgers is pretty good, and the
Yeah.
Packers kind of needed him. So the Bears take back ownership of the Bears here again from the Packers because Aaron Rodgers is gone. And I got the
Right.
Bears winning.
Yeah. Wes, what do you got?
I got the Bears. I think it's going to be a good game. I think DJ Moore is going to be the difference in the game. I think he's going to have a huge day. And when all else fails, Justin Fields will be like, I'm going to look for number 2. And I think he's going to do a lot of that. I think Jordan Love will actually have a decent game. I think he'll put up some points, a couple touchdowns. So I think at the end, Bears win by 5.
Yeah, there's been some noise out there around the Packers from, analysts about, well, Packers aren't as bad as you think and things like that. And it always worries me to play the Packers. It doesn't even matter. Like the Packers could be the worst team in the league, and it still worries me whenever Chicago plays the Packers. However, week 1 at home, new weapon for Justin Fields, and I think a new confidence level for Fields as well, in knowing the system, really learning how to play offense and play quarterback in the NFL. I think he does have a big day, especially on the ground. I think he'll run for 100 yards.
Who knows? They could have a monsoon like last year, right?
Right.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's anybody's game in a monsoon.
Yeah. Justin Fields could slide for 20 yards.
Yeah, so I got Chicago as well. I hate jinxing my team sometimes, but I really think that they should win this game. Speaking of jinxing your team, Wes, what do you got here? Raiders at Denver.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh man. Um I'm going with the Raiders. I mean, they're playing the Broncos, and like I just watched him, Russell Wilson, in practice. Like, oh yeah, he looks a lot better. Looks a lot more fit, this year. What is this? Like some sort of, like yoga video or something? It's like I don't think that Sean Payton is going to be able to get a lot more out of Russell Wilson because I think they have questionable weapons. Their defense, I think, is gonna be legit. I just think that you got Devontae Adams, you got Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G is gonna have a good game, and I think Tyke Wilson on defense. I think he's gonna make some noise. I think he's gonna have a couple sacks. So I
Yeah,
think he's gonna have a breakout game.
man, I had a tough time with this pick because
Come on, Steve.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to get from either of these teams this year. I don't really have a lot of faith in either of them at this point. The Raiders really let me down last year, where I thought they were going to have a really good season, and I feel like they didn't really get much better. I think their coach McDaniel's just a big trouble spot for him. So in Denver, and I also, I have a hard time with the Raiders Denver because it's a lot of history and they go back and forth. So I'm going to go with Denver by a field goal. What do you got, Derek?
So you got another swing game here because I'm not going to be taking the Raiders that much this year, but against the Broncos in week 1, I am. But going back to what Steve said earlier in another podcast, this is a whole new offense for the Broncos. They're still learning it. This is year 2 for the Raiders in this system. Josh Jacobs, 7 games against the Broncos, has got 721 yards rushing, averaging 4.7 yards, and has over a touchdown in each game. He owns the Broncos right now.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to do. And maybe later in the season, the Broncos will split the series. But right now, with their new offense, no Jerry Jeudy, no Tim Patrick, I'm going to take the Raiders.
Yeah, you guys, this might be one you get on me, you get back or get ahead of me, by taking Denver here. So we'll see how this one plays out. I do think the Raiders could easily win this game, but again, I just don't trust them fully yet. So maybe they'll gain some trust this game. Let's see, Philly at New England. This is me. Well, this is tough. Ultimately, I ended up with Philly in this game. Uh, Not a Mac Jones fan, and I get it. Like Belichick's putting his money doubling down on him, so maybe he knows something we don't. And when it comes to football, he's probably the guy to ask. But I'm just not a Mac Jones believer. So I'm saying Philly's just got too many weapons on offense and defense for New England to win this game.
Yeah, this was tough because, like we talked about in a different podcast, Belichick's had how long to prepare for this game? But I just think the talent of the Eagles here outweighs that. So I got the Eagles winning by a touchdown.
What's the spread?
4 points.
Or-
Eagles.
All right, Wes, you sticking with your earlier prediction, or you going with us on the Philly train?
No, I'm sticking with the Patriots here. It's week 1, like it's one of those games where I think Philly comes out a little flat, flat enough that I think Mac Jones can come out and have a good game and get everybody excited that he's actually good. But he's not, but he is an NFL quarterback, and he does have Bill Belichick and Brian's can coach him up really well. I think they come out and this is their Super Bowl because I don't think they're making the playoffs. So yes, you beat the NFC represented last year. Congratulations, no trophy, but Patriots still win.
Not even a participation trophy? Come on, Wes, everybody gets one of those.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wanted to see what you were going to go with there because you'd been talking about that previously, and so might be a swing game for Wes there because I think that's the first game that you guys are different on.
Mm-hmm.
So, Wes wins all the swing games. You come out with a little bit of a lead.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Miami at Chargers. What do you got there, Derek?
It's funny looking at when I was doing all my predictions, I was like, most of the time I was like, I'm gonna go with the favorite because I just don't know what's going on. Then the afternoon games came around and I'm going lots of underdogs here. I got the Dolphins in this game. The Chargers, they don't really have home field advantage over anybody. So they're favored by 3. I just think the Dolphins, when they're in full strength, they're unstoppable. They're gonna have Tua back. They got all their weapons. I think their offense is gonna put up lots of points. Their defense is a little better, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a nice, good old AFL shootout. But I got the Dolphins winning.
Agree or disagree on that, Wes?
I agree with that. It's I think there's just too many weapons for the Dolphins. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Herbert's he's gonna play well. I just think, is Eckler still holding out? Or
He never did. I don't think he was holding out. He
Yeah.
held in or whatever, but he's
I
he's
looked that
basically
up.
just going to play out his contract.
Right. He just made a lot of noise. Didn't really do anything about it.
There's so many question marks with the Chargers and their coach and everything, and I just think their weapons. Dolphins just got too much firepower. I think they win that game.
Yeah, I think later in the season, the Chargers have a much better chance to win this game, but I agree with you guys here in week one. Miami, you know what you're going to get from Miami. You're going to get a lot of points, a lot of yards, at least. Maybe not always points, but you're going to get a lot of yards. Waddle and Hill, that's just a crazy combo to try to guard. And be honest with you, I'm fine with Mike White leading that team. I mean, because they just have too many guys. So I think it's going to be a real close, high-scoring game, though. I think the Chargers are going to be right there. It's hard to take a team like the Chargers and say that they're not going to play well because they have a lot of weapons as well. So, but I gave the edge to Miami in this one. The Rams at Seattle. That's your favorite Seahawks team.
With my favorite quarterback, Mr. Jimmy Smith. I think Seattle wins this game just because, I mean, there's just so many questions with the Rams. And now you hear these rumors about Stafford, like, well, we could trade Stafford. Maybe we should trade him now. It's like you're already talking about this like the beginning of the season. Doesn't bode much confidence for your team. I don't think the Rams are going to be that bad this year. I just think they're just not going to be that good. And I think Seattle's playing at home. Their defense, I think, is going to, I think it's be a close game, but Seattle by like 7.
Yeah, I got Seattle here too. Just because there's a lot of uncertainty around the Rams camp right now. So the other issue is that I think Cup is still not a little banged up.
Yeah.
So when you have your best weapon not at 100%, I don't know if he's going to play at all, but if he does, he's still not 100%. That's a tough ask, I think, for them to go into Seattle and win the game. So I got the Seahawks as well.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. The spread is 5.5, the Seahawks. But yeah, Cooper Kupp has some hamstring injury now.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be seen a specialist, and they're trying to figure out stuff. That's kind of scary because once you start having a bunch of injuries, they keep piling up. So, yeah, I think the Rams had their 1 year, and they went all in. And now you're seeing all the effects because Van Jefferson's your number 2, right?
Right.
Cam Akers, who they wanted to get rid of last year, is still their starting running back. So, yeah. Aaron Donald's still there, but that's about it.
Yeah, that is tough. Yeah, and as far as Cup, like hamstring is one of the worst things as a receiver as well. Like he's got the worst injury for his position. Because that is something that really never goes away for a wide receiver. So that sucks. I hate to see that for him. Let's see. We got Dallas at New York. I think real tough one here, right? So back and forth quite a bit on this one. It's in New York though. So ultimately I landed on the Giants. What's the spread on this one, Derek? I forgot.
Cowboys favored by 3.5.
Right. That's why I took the Giants also. I think the Giants getting points, I think they win the game, but they're the right bet. In New York, Dallas historically isn't great on week one as well, or at least lately. So I'm gonna go with New York on this one with the Giants.
I am going to agree with you. Since it's week one and the Cowboys Giants, I think this is Darren Waller is going to have a huge game for the Giants. He eats the Cowboys every time they play. Daniel Jones is going to love him for the games he plays until he gets hurt and kind of doesn't come back. But in week one, he's going to be healthy. He's going to be out to prove a lot to say, hey, you traded me away. I'm one of the best tight ends in the football. So he's going to have a huge game. And I got the Giants winning.
What do you got, Wes?
Yeah, I got the Giants winning here. They're playing at home. I think Saquon and Waller are gonna have big games. I think the Cowboys will keep it close. So I just think in the end, Cowboys will find a way to blow the game like they usually do. Especially, week one, everyone's been waiting the whole off season for Dallas and Dak Prescott. All I hear is every day, Dak Prescott this. Is Dak Prescott, can he get to the Super Bowl? It's like every day. It's like the answer is no. So
What bothers me with the Dak Prescott stuff is the comparisons, the statistical comparisons people make to compare him to like good quarterbacks. Like, yeah, get it. Prescott's had good stats. Great, right? He also had really good players. So playing for a pretty good franchise, that doesn't make you a great quarterback, So it is annoying for me for the Dak Prescott talk.
It's just
Well, the ones that,
every day.
yeah, they crack me up are well, he threw lots of interceptions, but so did Peyton Manning his rookie year. Yeah, but this isn't Dak's rookie year.
Right.
He's supposed to get less interceptions as his career goes on, and he had the most interceptions in the NFL not playing in 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
I think you're going to tell very early if he's out there, and it seems like last year something was bothering, whether his thumb was bothering him still or he's recovering from it. He's had the whole off season. It should be fine now. So you're going to see if it's maybe that was the problem, or is he comes out and he plays a lot better. But we're going to find out really soon, like where he's at.
Yeah, that's I think it's going to be a tough day for the Dallas fans. They're not going to like the start to the season here. All right, Monday Night Football, Buffalo and the Jets. What a game. What a great Monday Night Football game. Derek.
This isn't indicative of how the season will go, but in game one, bright lights in the big city, got to take the Jets here. Aaron Rodgers is going to show out early on. He loves to be in the spotlight, and this is the biggest spotlight. I don't think the Bills defense is that as good as it's been in the past, and I don't think they have much of a pass rush without Von Miller. So I got the Jets winning this game. Bills are favored by 2.5.
What about you, Wes? Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I kind of agree here. I really want to take Buffalo because it's my friend's birthday and he's a huge Buffalo fan. He's like, oh, they're gonna beat the Jets week one. I'm like, I think the Jets are gonna be ready. I think they're prepared. And I think there's question marks still on both sides of the ball for Buffalo. I just think they get off to a slow start. I think the Jets win by 4.
Yeah, so when I talked about hardest games, I think for me this was the single probably hardest game to pick. Because it's hard. I guess when I think of the Jets, I just think of them not being very good. So it's hard to say one of the better teams in the leagues in Buffalo and say that they're going to beat them. But for me, this is the test. And it's funny to think that week one is the test for Aaron Rodgers, but this is, I think not only is it Buffalo, not only is it Monday night, like this is kind of everything. First game there. Um, this is the test for Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think he passes it. So I'm going to take Buffalo here, even though I think the Jets are solid in a lot of positions. Um, it's still a gel. There's still a gelling part of football, right? You still got to play together as a team in real games. Training camp is one thing, doing preseason's one thing. The season is different. And I think the Jets come on stronger as they go. So I'm going to take Buffalo to start. So another swing game there. I think that's a lot more swing games than we normally have, but it is week one. So I think week one kind of, it's always a toss up sometimes. So there's a chance, though.
You're saying there's a chance.
Steve, you didn't take very many upsets at all.
No, I went back and forth on a lot of games though, so that was the other problem. There was quite a few where I was like, took a team, and I was like, I don't know if that team's gonna actually win. Kind of went back and forth a lot.
And if Arizona wins, we quit. We're done. It's over. Sorry.
I mean, it is.
But
Washington.
you never know. It's the
Come
NFL.
on.
These guys are professionals. I don't think because even they talked about an ESPN like Arizona's tanking. It's
Right.
like, come on, like they got it.
I mean, if Arizona came out and beat like, Philly or Kansas City or something, like, yeah, then I would maybe quit. But it's the Commanders, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's.
I mean, come on. So interesting week one. I mean, that was it's like I said, I enjoyed looking through that. I think there is some real solid games as well. Week one that kind of will jumpstart people's seasons. For me, kind of a couple that stuck out. I mean, the Chicago game sticks out obviously for me for multiple reasons. Obviously, being a huge Bears fan, but more so that I think that's going to get the ball rolling for Chicago. They need that game, so they need to win this game to really have a great season, or even a good season. I don't say they'll have a great season. Obviously, we just talked about Buffalo, New York. I think that's a real huge one as well. And Detroit and Kansas City. I think that's another, like, you got to put all three of those games on your checklist. Any other games that stick out for you guys?
A lot of division games week one. So lots of teams will start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe the Saints game. It's kind of a telltale game for them. I mean, that San Francisco Pittsburgh game, that could be one too.
Mm-hmm. That could be a good game.
Yeah. So all right. Well,
so it's week one. If their team loses, just remember RELAX. Relax.
And the one thing is I think we know right off the bat that the AFC South is not very good, but they will not go 0-4 this week because Jacksonville plays Indianapolis. So
right.
they'll at least go 1-3.
So same can be said for the NFC South, which isn't very good, but the Panthers and Falcons play each other. So
yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
It's just it could get ugly in the South this year.
Well, it's
luckily
interesting.
They got SEC football right in the South.
Yeah, they got SEC football here.
Well, it's kind of funny, given your guys' picks. You got the Raiders in the number one spot after week one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that'd be awesome. And it will last 1 week, and then
Trust me, I was back and forth with Kansas City because I was like, "Come on, like, what are we talking about here?" Like,
yeah,
it is Patrick Mahomes. He's pretty good.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's
well,
all right.
I feel with Kansas City is they're a team that starts off slow too.
Yeah, sometimes.
And I think the Lions are really hungry. I'm not saying the Chiefs are the better team, but any given Sunday, right? Or any given Thursday.
Any
But
given Thursday.
it's funny to see these guys on ESPN like, oh, my sleepers, the Lions. They're not a sleeper. They've been talking about it all off season. They're good.
Right.
It's
Well,
just
that
like,
was
how good can they be?
I saw someone post, they're like, are the Steelers a sleeper team if everyone's picking them as their sleeper team?
Well, I think that's going that way because of the stigma around San Francisco, right? As being, probably the best in the West.
Yeah.
So that naturally makes the Steelers that way, where the Steelers aren't a horrible team. They're at home. So it's definitely not an easy win for San Francisco at all. Where, like, you guys have Pittsburgh winning. So,
Well, I'm saying that they're saying the Steelers are the sleeper a team of
yeah.
the season. And I'm like,
Oh, of the season. That's interesting.
yeah.
Sleeper of the season. Boy.
And same as the Lions. The Lions almost made the playoffs last year.
Right.
I mean, both those teams were on the cusp. So
Yeah.
I don't see either as a sleeper.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Bears as a sleeper. Um, I don't know, all the other teams, but again, the Dolphins, you can't really call them a sleeper because they almost made the playoffs last year, they should have made the playoffs last year.
And if
So
they
I
had
don't,
Tua, they would have definitely made the playoffs. So they were the
right,
best team in the NFL when he was there for a few weeks.
right. So I mean, it's hard to really pull an actual, I guess, so that's why people are picking Pittsburgh.
If you want to say like a sleeper, I would pick like the Browns or the Patriots.
Yeah,
Those are sleeper teams because no one's going to pick them.
Because the
right,
Browns
right.
have been asleep for years. Like they're just like they have not been like they're just like sleepwalking.
Oh man.
For the 21st century, they've been sleepwalking.
Yeah, jeez. Poor Browns. And they got good players too. That's the bad part, you know. And all the draft picks, I kind of feel like they're the same in their basketball team. How many number ones you can go through?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Any final parting thoughts for going into the season?
I'm just ready for some football.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. So Thursday night, we'll get this out. I'll get this out on Wednesday for people to review. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe to get every week's picks. And if you're listening on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, appreciate you listening. And we will see you guys next week.